So it's the day before your NCLEX exam and you're anxious. I'll share with you guys what I did the day before I took my NCLEX for the last time. It was Monday, August 8th, 2016, the day just before I took my NCLEX. I was thinking to myself that I would just look over some flashcards, maybe brush over my notes, and that would be it. Although I did read somewhere in NCLEX RN Mastery through some testimonies that you shouldn't try to study at all the day before your exam, just rest and put everything down. But as I've been preparing myself for the NCLEX, I've been trying to cover all my bases, making sure that I lacked nothing as much as possible. I knew that I couldn't 100% lack nothing, but I really tried my best to know everything that I could. I had some friends that tried to cram right before their exam, and they winded up passing. But I tell you that when I tried to pick up those flashcards, nothing would sink in. I tried to look into my notes and read even 2 sentences about insulin because I think I got a little bit confused by like N, R. Of course, with insulin, it's important to know if it's like rapid, intermediate, or long acting. I thought just reading something as simple as that would be okay for me to do right before I took my exam the next day. I made it halfway through one sentence and I immediately got a headache. So I texted my friend who had recently passed her NCLEX and I asked her what she did the day before she took her exam. She basically enabled me and gave me a license to do whatever I wanted that day except for study. So I like to play tennis, so I played tennis. I like to eat, so I ate. I did whatever I could to not study. My exam the next day was at 12 o'clock, so I knew that even if I slept in, I'd still be okay. Also, throughout the course of the day, I started to remind myself what kind of things I would tell somebody else who just failed their NCLEX before and are taking it again. Then I remember telling my friend, look, you took your NCLEX before and you didn't know much about it and you failed. Look at you now, you failed it twice and you've studied so much, you reviewed so much, and look at you now. Not only did you review hard, but you also reviewed smart. You knew what you were lacking, you knew what you were supposed to pursue for, and you prepared long before this date. Look at you now. You can't add or take anything away from what you had just prepared yourself to be. Every day that you spent preparing for the exam, you bettered yourself than the day before. The person you are today is much better than the person that you were yesterday. So as you're about to step in and take your NCLEX exam, it should be a reminder to you that you prepared for this NCLEX exam long time ago. Those 30, 60, or however many days that you prepared for the exam, you were readying yourself all that time. You didn't cram and you didn't try to force feed yourself. So you've done it. You've done it all. You've done everything that you could. The only thing now that you could do is just pray, trust in God. You know very well that you are not in control of what happens and what kind of questions will pop up on that screen. So just focus on what's in front of you. Don't focus in the future. Don't think about what's gonna happen if you fail or if you're gonna pass. Just focus on the question in front of you. If you keep thinking about, what if this or what if that, you're not gonna be able to focus on what's exactly in front of you. In the end, you'll be as ready as you'll ever be. You didn't become some kind of overnight celebrity. You didn't become some kind of overnight genius or overnight nurse. You trained long term for this exam. If there's something that you lack, eventually it'll be known. Don't focus on the things that you lack. Just focus on the things that you are strong at. Stick to what you know, because if you focus on what you don't know on this exam, you're going to freak out. The second time I took my exam, I was freaking out all over. I was thinking about, what would happen if I passed this exam? I thought my broken heart would be soothed. My family would be so much better because now I could support the family. I was begging God at every single question that I knew that I was not competent enough to answer all these questions. And I had so much burden on my shoulders that I couldn't even be able to prioritize. I couldn't even focus on the task in front of me. Just answer one question at a time, and I couldn't even do that. I finished that test at 124 questions. You want to know what it was like to finish that test? In the end, I was at a rush. I knew I should have taken my time, but because I was panicking, because I was so anxious in my head, I rushed myself to failure. It's kind of like that story of when Jesus, his disciples were out in the ocean or out in the water and there was a storm coming. Jesus was sleeping. The disciples were trying to wake up Jesus and they were like, Jesus, like there's a storm out there and the waters are really bad. Like, can you do something? And when Jesus woke up, he pointed out to them, and like for me, when I was taking the NCLEX, I saw this storm. I was looking at the storm all the way through. And you know what? As much as I was praying, I never really in my heart trusted God because I was so focused on me failing, what it would mean for me to pass, that I totally missed the whole point of the exam. I was focused so much on the rewards and the consequences that I couldn't even do what was in front of me. It's a very common practice for many of us to see disaster, to see troubles right in front of our face, and pray about it and pray to be delivered. But I think that many of us, even myself included, that we don't actually believe that we will be saved. We actually wait for things. We wait for the storm to stop before we actually trust God. We have to see to believe. I believe in the Bible, I think it's in Hebrews, that it says something like, faith is not the things seen, but the things hoped for. I pray not just on big days like the NCLEX, but I also try to pray every day, every morning and every evening, right when I wake up and right before I go to bed. The NCLEX can very much be a problem, but also every day can also be an opportunity to face struggles and problems. And that's why prayer is also important every day, not just the bigger days. For me, in my own testimony, I can say that praying all the way through each day right before my NCLEX exam definitely helped things be easier for me as far as the atmosphere. I believe I did my best. I believe that God did the rest. And I really believe that, there's only so much that I can do and everything else is in His hands. Everything wonderful and perfect comes from Him. All things work together for good for all those who love Him and are called to His purpose. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. For me, it wasn't just about the exam, but it was also about my own life. I had to choose each day whether I would choose anxiety or God. Although I can't completely get rid of anxiety, I know that I can at least lessen it to the littlest amount to make God a big amount. Whereas opposed to the opposite, where God in my life is the littlest amount and anxiety is the biggest amount. So yeah, I think that's all I can say for now. If you want to read about my experience, I have a blog post down below in the description. If you have any comments, you can always leave one down below. So with that said, study well, rest best, and pray the most. Thanks for watching.